two, three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
What's going on, YouTube? Alright, so today we've got a woman boasting about how she is going to alienate a child from his father. Now, she stated that, she saw him cheating through the whole pregnancy. And from the looks of the kid, he's a very, very much a newborn. Like, it can't be no more than a few weeks old, month and a half tops. And so the thing about that is you've got to understand is that there are two sides to every story. Okay, and that's her version of it. So you don't actually know what really went down, because a lot of times women will do this. Like, a lot of times they will be very aggressive and just overbearing. And a lot of times, especially modern women these days, if you ask them what they bring to the table, they'll say, well, I am the table, or I can cook for you and I can clean for you and this and that. And then you get into the relationship and you realize they don't do any of that. And they have no desire or no intentions to work either, because they expect a man to do everything. And at some point, because the man, might be going into it thinking, I got a teammate, I got somebody that's going to work with me. And, and then when it turns out she doesn't do any of that, she doesn't do anything she said she was going to do, but she still expects you to do everything for her. And then when a guy says, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm trying to make this work, because you are having my baby, and, I want to, a child needs both, parents and a stable household, but this is just not going to work, man. I can't deal with this anymore. And so many people, especially women, like to use that whole, well, it's the pregnancy hormones. It's the pregnancy hormones. No, she had issues long before she got pregnant. She had that entitlement long before she got pregnant, okay? She just used the pregnancy as a way to boost that entitlement. And when it didn't work, she comes on the social media, bashes the guy so that she can play the victim and justify alienating the child. I mean, it's pretty messed up, really. But, I mean, really, there's two sides to every story. So you got to understand, this is just her version of it. This is not necessarily why she actually is alienating the child from him. It could be because he just couldn't deal with her anymore, and he ended the relationship. So now she's saying, you know what? Because you didn't deal with my BS, because you wouldn't let me do whatever I wanted to do, and because you ended the relationship, now I'm going to keep your child from you to punish you for ending the relationship. And these days, so many women do that these days. And it's not right to the kids. It's not right to the dads.
Struggle to understand parents like this. I'm just wondering why so many parents are just failing to understand that unless the other partner is showing risks of harm, domestic violence, or drug use, your feelings towards them don't really matter.
It's funny how she used the word parents when obviously she was talking about the mothers. Because the mothers are the only ones who technically have the right to alienate a child from the father. Especially if she leaves during pregnancy. Because then that makes it easier on her, especially if you're not married. Because if you're married, then, obviously they're going to have to put his name on the birth certificate, because that's just the law. At least in this state. I don't know how other states work or other countries, but I know at least in this state, if you're married and a woman has a kid, even if that's not the father, even if she cheated on him with someone else and he's not the father, but because they're married, his name is automatically on the birth certificate, because it is presumed by law that he is the father. Alright? But if you're not married and she decides to leave during the pregnancy, she can leave your name completely off the birth certificate. She can conceal the birth and not even let you know that the child is born, not even tell you that you have a kid. And she can do that legally with no repercussions, even though that is technically kidnapping. But there is no repercussions. So when she says that, is that you don't have a right, that's what she's talking about. She's talking about mothers. Fathers don't have that right anyway. We barely have a right for full custody. And a mother has got to be really, 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 really bad, or just completely sign over her rights for that. And the double standards of society is ridiculous, and I've seen it firsthand.
Bitter, hurt feelings are not a good reason to not allow that child to see the other parent. Like, what's the trail of thought for these types of parents? Is it, well, they made a bad partner, so obviously they're gonna make a bad parent. Duh. Or does it really kind of just sum up to, you hurt me, so now I'm gonna hurt you back?
It's exactly what it sums up to. And obviously, again, you can obviously tell she's talking about the mothers. Because, again, what father has the right to say that? What father can say, you know what? You hurt me. You, my wife, cheated on me, so now I'm going to keep the child from you. How many fathers actually can say that? No. So, I get what she's saying. It's a very good point, but I just honestly wish she would be a little more direct with it and just be like, look, the mothers need to understand you cannot alienate a child from the father simply because you don't like him anymore. And like she said, just because he was a bad partner in your eyes, that's your opinion. Because, opinions vary. You might see him as a bad partner, somebody else might see him as a good one, or a gold mine. Whatever. But, despite how you see him, that does not mean he's going to be a bad dad. Even if the guy that this lady was talking about, even if he really did cheat on her throughout the pregnancy, that doesn't mean he's going to be a bad dad. That doesn't mean he don't want to be a part of his kid's life. That doesn't mean he doesn't care about his kid. It just means he doesn't care about her anymore.
Like, if that baby is not at risk for abuse, harm, being exposed to drug use, domestic violence, then you don't really have a good reason to alienate your child from the other parent because you're a big...
The question is, if the roles were reversed, all right, she said if the other parent, and again, she needs to really be more direct. What she means is, if the father does not have any substance abuse, if he's, there's no DV, no child abuse, or neglect or anything like that, then the mother cannot or should not alienate a child from the father. But basically saying that if the guy does do that, if he is that way and the child would be exposed to that, then it's okay for you to alienate the child from the father. So now reverse that. So what if the mother was the one exposing the child to substance abuse and child abuse and DV and neglect? Is it okay then for a father to alienate a child from the mother? And if not, why not? If it is okay to alienate a child from the father for those reasons, why is it not okay to alienate a child from the mother for the exact same reasons? please let me know.
Big bitter Becky bitch. I just hope that this mother figures out somewhere down the line that, like, children are not really possessions, and they're not tools, and they're not weapons. They're beings with feelings, and your choices are going to impact their feelings and who they are as a being in the future. Now, let me just clarify, I'm not feeding into this sexist idea that all single mothers' children are just doomed. They're doomed. They're going to grow up depressed and unhappy. That's not true. Because then
I do. That's actually a very, very good point. And I absolutely agree with that. And I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that either. I'm not saying that kids that are growing up with single mothers are doomed and they're going to be depressed and lacking in some things. Because in my situation, I was raised by a single mother, and I don't blame her one bit. In fact, I actually blame my dad. And because what she did was necessary. Because he did possess all the bad qualities that this lady was talking about. There was substance abuse, there was DV, and there most likely, and I'm not going to get into that, but there's most likely would have been child abuse as well, and there definitely would have been neglect. And so she actually absolutely made the right call. I don't blame her one bit for that. Like I said, I blame him for not wanting to be there. And me personally, like, I honestly, like, I didn't turn out to be a doctor or anything like that. But overall, in my opinion, and again, opinions vary, but in my opinion, I turned out to be a pretty good guy. I'm a great dad. I take good care of my kid, and I don't need anyone's opinion for that because my kid validates that on his own. Just because I see how happy he is with me and the way he looks at me and the way we are together, I could tell he's very, very happy with me. So, and my dogs as well, and you know, everybody that I really kind of associate with. And there are some, but that's only the people that get on my nerves or just bug the crap out of me and stuff, you know. But for the most part, I turned out to be a pretty good guy, even though I was raised by a single mother. But again, that's really a two-sided situation. You know, it's like not all kids who grow up with single fathers, and meaning without their mothers, not all of those kids grow up in a, you know, to be worse off either. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're being kept from a bad situation, they're going to be better off. And that's overall what she's saying. Is a kid who is kept out of a bad situation and protected by the parent, whether it's the mother or the father, if he or she is protected by the parent from the other parent, he's going to be much more respectful of that. He's going to be much more appreciative of he or she is going to be much more appreciative. And I've seen it. You know, and I've brought this up to several authority figures. I've seen it, because I had my son for about 6 months full time during a certain situation, and in that 6 months, I've never seen him happier at any other point. And I can still remember the look on his face when he woke up a couple of days past the normal days that he would have been here. He looked up at me in shock and surprised that he was still here, but very, very much happy, because as soon as he realized this is not a dream, this is where he really is, he's safe, he jumped up, and I mean practically jumped into my arms. So, I mean, that is really, really a two-sided situation. And the problem with that is that so many people in society and pretty much everyone in the court system do not see it that way. They cannot fathom that a father could be a better parent than a mother. They just can't seem to understand that. And I don't understand why, when there are so many good dads out there. And there are so many bad mothers out there. Look at this lady, not this one, but the one that she's responding to, who is broadcasting on social media how she's going to alienate the child from her father. And I bet you the court system was okay with that. And anybody that's watching this video on my channel, and if you've seen the car seat video, then you know what some women will do. You know what I'm saying? And for me to post that, like, I honestly caught a lot of backlash for that. You know what I'm saying? But the woman that she's responding to, who is clearly letting everyone know that she's going to keep this child from the father, I bet you nothing happened to her. I will bet you. I don't know for sure, but I would bet you nobody did a thing about that one.
Situations where you are literally putting that baby in a safer situation, i.e. that other parent is not safe, that baby is inevitably happier with you. But when you're just alienating because you're pissed off at the other parent, that kid's gonna figure it out, and that kid's gonna have something to say about it.
Yeah, see, and that's a very, very good point to make. And again, she's obviously speaking about mothers, all right? So y'all need to understand that at some point that child's going to grow up. And in my case, I was too. Like, I was very, very young when my mom and dad split up. And so I know for a fact, and I know even my brother and my siblings also were asking questions as well as, where he was and this and that. And so y'all women need to understand that kids are going to grow up. And when they start realizing their real biological father is not there, they're going to start asking questions. But then that's where the lies and stuff come in. That's where the women are going to be like, oh, well, he was this and he was that. In my situation, she just told the truth. Like, I remember some of the things that I saw. So I knew that some of the things that she said were absolutely true because I remembered those things. But a lot of times, the mothers will lie to their child. And they will be like, I guarantee you, if the lady in the front, or the lady that she's responding to, if she actually was able to keep the child from the biological father and ended up getting full custody, and however way that worked out. All right, I guarantee you, when the child gets up and he starts, he or she, I'm sure, I think, starts asking about where his father is, she's going to be like, oh, well, he's a deadbeat. He didn't want anything to do with you anyway. And that's the way a lot of women do. They immediately, they want to portray the dad as a bad guy, even if he wanted to be there. Even if she's the one who kept the child from him, she's still going to paint him out to be the bad guy. In my case, again, it wasn't the same because I remembered some of the things that she told me, so I was able to paint my own picture. I was able to understand what had happened and why we were better off without him. I was able to understand that. But so many kids these days are just kind of brainwashed into believing whatever narrative that the mothers cook up. And that's not good for a child.
So, I don't really think these women care though.